have drafted a development agreement and sent them the draft, and are awaiting a response. And we get a response soon enough for the next council meeting.
This all going as smoothly as Mr. Peterson was suggesting it might?
Mike, I don't know that you got the, I just got an email at 6 o'clock with their response, so you probably didn't get a chance to see that. So they did have changes, surprisingly.
Okay. Still a chance that we might get something hammered out in advance of the next council meeting?
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I haven't had a real chance to go through this, but it doesn't look like it's bleeding too badly. Well, I take that back.
I'm sure you can stanch the bleeding.
Now that I look at it, it might be ambitious.
Yeah.
We'll make every effort, though.
Okay. Brian, you have anything?
Yeah, I'd like to do a quick update on the Center and Main Street project. Phase 1 and Phase 2 on the south side are nearing completion. That involved the installation of turn lanes, curb and gutter on the south side, the driveway approaches, and all the storm sewers. I will be starting Phase 3 and 4 shortly, and that's on the north side. That's much less intense because the turn lanes were added on the south side. So it's a lot less work. Depending on the storms later this evening, the contractor plans to start digging for the foundations of the new poles tomorrow. If we get a lot of rain, that will, in fact, delay. We're still waiting an update on delivery of the new poles and mast arms. Based on contract time, the contractor has until the first week of November to finish the project. I would say at this point in time, I feel he's above or ahead of schedule. All depends on the availability of the poles. In the last couple of weeks, there have been several parking questions raised since we started construction of the median out in front of the pharmacy. So I thought it was good to give a little bit of history. The design was approved by council in March of 2012. Prior to the approval, there were a number of public informational meetings and one-on-one meetings with residents and businesses. And the council action form, dated March 19th of 2012, stated that design preserved 4 existing parking spaces on the south side. There will actually be at least 5 spaces, and we're trying to get 6. So we're better than designed. With the number of questions that we did receive and the length of time between the approval and actual construction, 2.5 years, staff put together a layout of the overall improvements. I don't think a lot of people remembered exactly what that intersection was going to look like. I wasn't here, so I didn't know. I think a copy was provided to you. We actually put one on an easel out front of the council chambers, so anyone coming in to pay utility bills or have a question can see. We also provided the same layout to all the businesses in the downtown area that are impacted by it, along with a business card of our inspector if they had any questions, they could call. So.
Okay. Very good. Cheryl, do you have anything?
I do. I have a couple of updates. The search firm that is working on the police chief recruitment is in the process of accepting and reviewing resumes. He's very positive that he's going to be able to visit in a couple of weeks and provide a recommendation of his top candidates that he would be recommending that we interview. The utility director position is posted, and we have search ongoing for that. The council asked that staff perform or have someone perform a pay and compensation study. We have selected a consultant who will be able to do that for us. We're in the process of doing scope negotiations, and we're on track to provide that information to you as indicated during the first quarter of next year. And one other thing that I'd like to talk about or present to council for consideration, and that is as part of the budget process for next year, 2 things we'd like to incorporate to ensure that we have sufficient input from the public and sufficient input from council at the beginning of the process is a budget workshop with the residents, as well as a retreat at the beginning of the year or the end of this year for the council so that we can look at the priorities and establish some of the budget assumptions so that we can start at the beginning of the year working on the budget. So I'd like you perhaps consider looking at that and giving that some consideration.
Okay. Well, I think that, you know, after the last, it was hard to really call it a retreat. We had it at the senior center. Not everybody was able to attend. It was short in nature. But boy, it sure seemed to be helpful. We got right shortly after that. We knocked out some important things and all worked together on it. So I like the idea of another retreat if we can have the same kind of results coming out of it. How does the council feel about a retreat and maybe getting out of town for it? So we can really focus and give the requisite amount of time.
Getting out of town, I don't understand.
I was thinking about,
Wichita. Well, I know what the folks will be there.
Oh, you know, I was thinking about, you know, a Friday night, Saturday, that type of retreat. And honestly, not going too far. You know, Vegas isn't, I mean, it's only a couple hours by airplane, but, kidding aside, I was thinking Manhattan. It'd be a good place to go. They've got some projects that have all kind of come together over the last few years. I know, when did you graduate from K-State?
How many years ago? 98.
98? Okay. Well, I'm sure you've probably been back and seen some of the development that's happened there in the intervening time.
Well, it's different dynamic.
Understandable, but yeah, it took a long time to get accomplished too.
Right.
But, is there anybody that has heartburn about a Friday evening, Saturday retreat format? I mean, this is not uncommon in
I'm not sure I
government
see the
circles.
necessity of a travel trip like that. I'm not sure what we would accomplish unless there was some sort of agenda in place with other leaders, but even then, at that point, you know, as much as I love Manhattan, if we purple, I don't know where the fit is other than a different locale, which I just don't see the necessity of.
My biggest concern, well, there's two concerns. One is that going farther away means less of a chance that the council members who need to be in the retreat can be at the retreat. Second of all, there's the issue of Open Meetings Act, and we have to be able to make that meeting available. If an individual wants to attend, like say press, they could attend those meetings unless we make them closed. And if that's the case, then there's a whole different protocol associated with that. So I think that we need to be transparent even with our retreats. So
Why couldn't a press member attend?
well, if it's in Manhattan, it's gonna be awfully difficult.
I mean, there's not a law that says you have to provide transportation and
Oh, no.
lodging, is there?
Absolutely not. Which is why I would say if we're gonna be going out of town, Olathe would be a better option than Manhattan. For everybody. Well, it's not a town for some people.
Here's the one thing that I could see value in. You just completed the
Yeah.
comprehensive plan.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting ready to implement it. I think and I'm not saying you have to go out of town for this, but I'm saying if I were the person making these decisions, I would search for an area where there are lots of suburbs around an existing intermodal site, and find and sort of do an assessment of what those towns look like, in concentric distance circles away from the center, and hopefully figure out what kind of town you want this town to be in the next 20 years, because really that's what's necessary, in my opinion. That's what's needed, is to know what other towns the paths other towns have chosen who have this,
Well,
the largest inland port, in the country.
Well-
I think you need to see, can you become a, you know,